唯有加德士特配踢掛，讓你一路向前，一路潔淨引擎。
Province. All these demonstrations came ahead of a leadership change at a key party congress later this year. Stephanie Wong, TVB News.
And more flooding has ravaged parts of the mainland, causing widespread damage. Heavy rain and rainstorms are hitting many parts of Yunnan province and the Guangxi region. In Yunnan, the only bridge connecting two villages in Mengla County to the outside was destroyed, and electricity was cut off to many villages. The rain triggered mudslides, blocking roads and stranding thousands of people. Heavy rain also battered Beijing last night. A storm that ravaged the capital a week ago claimed at least 77 lives, raising questions about the quality of infrastructure there, as well as the government's handling of the disaster. Beijing's Municipal Party Secretary Guo Jinlong paid tribute to the victims yesterday. He acknowledged mistakes had been made in how authorities handled the situation last week. And locally, Secretary for Education Eddie Ng today met with various groups on the eve of a protest rally against the government's national education program. The talks failed to address the concern of at least one of the groups, comprising parents, who called the meeting meaningless and cut it short. Jessica Gable reports.
Trust me, it's my job, in my department, everybody's job, to make sure we explain as much as possible and we treasure actually today's meeting.
But not everyone was buying Secretary for Education Eddie Ng's efforts at communication.
It was not sincere at all. It was just a gesture.
The National Education Parents Concern Group was the first of several groups to meet with Ng, but soon after they walked out of the meeting.
Parents came out of the Education Bureau saying they felt ignored, and some went even further than that. They said that if the government does implement this national education, they will become the enemy of the people.
During the meeting, whatever we said, we can't see the secretary understand and accept what we said. And it seems that we are living in two worlds.
For the government's part, Eddie Ng rejected any idea that the negotiations were a failure.
Seems that it was a bit rushy in trying to get a very quick answer, which I think, we really want to have more detail, more two-way exchange. So I would not call that falling off or falling down. I would think that that is just a beginning of a continual ongoing exchange.
In another interview with TVB, Ng said the upcoming LegCo election could be contributing to the fuss around the national education policy, making the issue political. He said the controversy is mainly about a China Model National Conditions teaching manual published by a non-government body. He said it's unfortunate that some members of the public view the manual as a textbook or teaching guidelines. Ng maintained the national education program does not involve any brainwashing. He said schools have 3 years to prepare for the introduction of their national education curriculum, and there should be no worry for brainwashing as long as the teaching materials come from a wide collection of sources. Other groups, including the Committee on Homeschool Cooperation and the Federation of Parent-Teacher Associations of various districts, also met with Ng today. While the Parents Concern Group says there can be no discussion with a government that is unwilling to consider changing the policy itself, the Federation will meet with the Education Bureau one more time on August 1st. Jessica Gable, TVB News.
And debate about the controversial curriculum is heating up ahead of tomorrow's mass rally. Among those wading in today was Cardinal Joseph Zen, who questioned why the government is pushing ahead with the introduction of national education in schools despite opposition. Stephanie Wong has that story.
Cardinal Joseph Zen came out today to add his voice to the debate, calling the government's subsidized national education booklet, the China model, biased. And even if educators have the freedom to choose their own materials, he says it's still dangerous. How are teachers supposed to remedy it? It's like saying this cup may contain poison, and you just have to be careful about it. The cardinal also questioned what he described as the rush to implement the curriculum, saying what's most important right now is for the government to consult the public again and shelve the 3-year preparation period before national education becomes compulsory in primary schools. A view echoed by the Professional Teachers Union.
We want all the members, all the shareholders, just like parents, students, and all the teachers can sit together to have a genuine conversation with Mr. Edin.
The union has not ruled out the possibility of canceling classes in protest. As for tomorrow's mass rally against national education, a number of people in the performing arts sector say they will be attending as well. For John Shum, it's not about refusing to get to know the country, but opposing the Education Bureau's handling of the entire process. But a deputy director of the central government's liaison office, Wang Zhiming, dismissed concerns about the controversial curriculum, saying it's perfectly normal for schools to adopt it. And the China Civic Education Promotion Association of Hong Kong, which holds exchange programs for local youth visiting the mainland, said that national education is widely accepted here. Stephanie Wang, TVB News.
Syrian artillery and helicopter gunships pounded a central district of Aleppo this morning in preparation for what many fear could be an all-out assault on the city. The battle for the city of 2.5 million is seen as a crucial test for a government that has committed huge military resources to maintain control here and in Damascus. 17 months of demands, ultimatums, threats, sanctions, and even a UN-brokered ceasefire deal have failed to make any impression on the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The ferocity of recent clashes in Damascus and the ongoing battle for Aleppo bear witness to that. As the death toll mounts, so does the level of rhetoric of the so-called Friends of Syria group of nations. British Prime Minister David Cameron commenting after talks with Turkish Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
We spent a lot of our time clearly discussing the appalling situation in Syria and the very real concerns that we have that the regime is about to carry out some truly appalling acts around and in the city of Aleppo. This would be completely unacceptable.
And responding to fears that Syria might consider using chemical weapons if the regime fails to dislodge the rebels from the strategic city, the UN chief issued another and somewhat predictable demand.
I demand, again, I reiterate my demand, that the Syrian authorities categorically state that they will not use chemical weapons or other weapons of mass destructions under any circumstance.